Let us look at the first question. So this is the first question in front of you. Which among the following statements are true about Panchtantra? So Panchtantra के बारे में कौन सी statements are correct? Panchtantra is a descendant of Hitopdesha. It is a manual for the instructions of the sons of a king in the principles of good conduct. How should they perform? So moral values it was trying to give. The first book deals with the adventures of a tortoise, deer and a cow. Tantra Kaika is one of the oldest redactions of Panchtantra. Panchtantra is divided into 5 parts. So you need to tell me which of the statements is true. True, false, not true. ऐसे वाले terms ना हमेशा ध्यान से देखने चाहिए. You guys can join in and start answering as well. So we were discussing this question जब अचानक से कल हमारा YouTube live disconnect हो गया था. This is an important question asked in 2023. So Panchtantra is a descendant of Hitopdesha. Is it a manual that talks about the principles of good conduct that is given to sons of a king? First book deals with adventures of tortoise, deer and a cow, and Tantra or Tantra Kaika is one of the oldest redactions and it is divided into 5 parts. Let us see the right answer. So 3 is the right answer. Let me discuss all the statements. The manual Panchtantra is used to give instructions to the sons of the king. It basically talks about principles of a good conduct. Because यहाँ पे क्या होता है हम fables use करते हैं. Fables, allegorical characters to give what? To give moral values. Good and bad के बीच में distinctions बताने के लिए. So this is correct. Panchtantra was written to give instructions to the young prince who would rule effectively when they learn moral lessons through fables. Fables are the tales which use animals as allegorical characters. Then Tantra Kaika is one of the oldest redactions of Panchtantra. This is also true. This is the oldest versions of Panchtantra. And Panchtantra is divided into 5 parts. So it has 5 parts. Panchtantra is not a descendant of Hitopdesha because this statement is false. Panchtantra predates Hitopdesha, right? Hitopdesha basically is the book that was written by Narayana, and the term Hitopdesha means what? It means a piece of advice. So this was also a book that was giving, it was written in Sanskrit and it was also giving advice, but it precedes it. And if you look at the last statement, so the statement C, the first book deals with the adventures of tortoise, deer and a cow. This is also false because it deals with a topic of Mitra Bheda, the separation of friends. And there are some animals being discussed, but not specifically a tortoise, deer or a cow. So these statements become wrong. Next, John Osborne's Look Back in Anger. Look Back in Anger is a seminal work written by John Osborne. Why is it so important? Because writing this work, Osborne started a new tradition, a new movement of writing called as Angry Young Man. क्या start किया उन्होंने? Angry Young Man. Angry Young Man and also kitchen sink dramas, both of them. So he started with Angry Young Man gradually because these plays were talking about working class people and they were usually set in one room apartments. It was also the beginning of a genre of kitchen sink drama. Kitchen sink drama. So what exactly is Angry Young Man? So post-war, these people, these young writers, they were struggling. They were having no place to write, no place to live. They were living in claustrophobic conditions. So working class people were suffering after post-World War. And they wanted to write as well. They had no place to think, write. They were frustrated. Less money, more expenditure. World was moving very fast. So they wanted to shout out. They were becoming angry. They started to write the piece of work where you will always find a working class man struggling. So John Osborne's play, Look Back in Anger, represented real confusions among real people of the 1950s, is more important as a cultural phenomena than as a work of literature. It is about a is it about a provincial graduate of humble social background? Is it about upper class society of the 1990s? Is Victorian in its outlook? Do you think it is Victorian in its outlook? What would be the right answer? So sahi statement क्या होगी? Let us look at the statement, the right answer. That is 3. 3 is the right answer. A, B and C are true. A, B and C are true. Let us talk about the statements. So it is not talking about the upper class society. As I told you, it is basically talking about the working class people, not the upper class people. This becomes wrong. There is no Victorian description, no Victorian outlook, no Victorian compromise that is being discussed here. They are again struggling because of the economic conditions. Socio-economic conditions is the more important background here. So the work, Look Back in Anger, represents real confusions among real people of the 1950s. It was written in the year 1956, which made Osborne a very important writer. It is widely regarded as a reflection of the disillusionments a person faced, confusion a person faced after the post-World War. So post-World War generation in Britain. It highlights the struggles and the frustrations of young people of the 1950s, particularly in the context of class and social change. क्लास में साथ ये क्या कर रहे थे, प्रॉब्लम्स हो रही थी इनको, जो सोशल चेंजेस में प्रॉब्लम थी, सोशो इकोनॉमिक कंडीशंस, उसके साथ बात होती है. B, it is more important as a cultural phenomena than as the work of literature, because as I told you, these 20th century writings, these works, they were remarkable. They were talking about cultural historical backgrounds. They were talking about the shift from the traditional reserved dramas to a more profound types of dramas where they will talk about the raw rebellion that these people had. The contemporary life was portrayed here. C statement is also correct. It is about provincial graduate, humble social background से जो है, the main character here is Jimmy Potter. So Jimmy Potter and his wife Ellison, they are living. There is also another character, Helena, who will have a undesirable relationship with Jimmy. Jimmy is not at all happy. So in the first scene, you see the wife ironing the clothes. She's working, she's frustrated, she's pregnant as well. She'll talk about those things, and Jimmy is reading a newspaper, reading about the problems that is going on in the world. He's not at all concerned about his wife as well. And the drama is created when a best friend of Jimmy is also there. So there are overlapping characters. There is love involved here, problems related to money, and of course extramarital affair. These are the themes that you will find here. Okay, let us go forward. The Frontiers of Criticism by T.S. Eliot is associated with new historicism, new criticism, postmodernism and post-colonialism. So the Frontiers of Criticism is a seminal work written by T.S. Eliot, a very important writer. T.S. Eliot also received Nobel Prize in Literature. So he is a Nobel laureate. He received Nobel Prize in Literature in 1948 and has written multiple works. One of a very important work is The Frontiers of Criticism. So basically this was a lecture. ये उनका लेक्चर था जो उन्होंने यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ मिनेसोटा के पास दिया था. He gave this, he delivered this in the University of Minnesota in 1956. This lecture was given, and then later it was published as a book form. Later, as a book form, it came out in the book called as Poetry and Poets. Poetry and Poets. So इस book में as a essay it was added later. Initially it was a lecture. In 1957, it is associated with new criticism. It is associated with new criticism. New criticism is a literary movement that John Crowe Ransom started because he wrote this work, New Criticism. It is also related to close reading. It is related to the phenomena of close reading, which says that the sheet of paper that you have is self-sufficient. जो पेपर आपके पास है, that is self-sufficient, it is self-contained, you do not. Good afternoon. So Shubnam, this is the question that we are discussing. The right answer to this is new criticism, and we're talking about new criticism here. So new criticism basically is a manner in which you read. It is a theory which says that you need to read the you need to read the text that you have as the most essential unit in itself. So it is holistic, it has its own meaning, it is self-sufficient, and you do not need to use biographical details or historical details of the writer that is there. If you do these mistakes, you will be committing what? You will be committing two types of fallacies: intentional fallacies and effective fallacy. Okay, it is Beardsley as well as Wimsett, William K. Wimsett, Munro Beardsley and William K. Wimsett, who talked about these two fallacies, effective fallacy and intentional fallacy. Verbal icon उनका work था, उसके अंदर इन्होंने बात की थी. Again, very important. Close reading says that whatever is written on the paper is sufficient to you. Okay. Close reading plus there is one more thing that you need to study here. Practical criticism. Practical criticism of I.A. Richards. Of I.A. Richards is also associated with new criticism only. I.A. Richards also conducted this experiment in his class where he gave a sheet of poetry to his students and never told the name of the poetry, about the writer, etc., and conducted this survey that that are the students able to understand it, and he was surprised how they actually wrote their own perceptions. So this is a stark example that he used अपने lectures के अंदर, and he came up with this idea of practical criticism. Practical criticism as well as close reading, both are associated with new criticism. T.S. Eliot wrote this. So this was a lecture that he gave in the University of Minnesota, The Frontiers of Criticism, and then it was written as an essay included in the book Poetry and Poets. Okay. T.S. Eliot is very important when it comes to his non-fictional works, his essays that he has written. He is famous for tradition and individual talent. Tradition and individual talent, where he says that you cannot study a piece of art in vacuum, and you need to look at the lineage. You need to look at the culture that is being propagated. So tradition and individual talent. This is a work written by Eliot. He says that you can never read a work in vacuum. Histories and histories are needed to read the work. He used this principle in his work Wasteland. Wasteland के अंदर भी उन्होंने बहुत सारे preceding text use करे ना. Wasteland that came out in 1922 also used the phenomena that he talked here. He also has written another critical work, Hamlet and His Problems. Hamlet and His Problems, जहाँ पे उन्होंने correlative के बारे में बात की है. So these are certain works written by T.S. Eliot. So second is the right answer. Which of the following statements help in understanding the concept of interdisciplinarity? Application of education beyond university, combination of two or more topics, disciplines or subject matters, focusing on one domain for one lesson, the idea of bringing together diverse disciplines, education is for the people and their development at large. Interdisciplinarity मतलब क्या होता है? Okay, Avinash, can you tell me the right answer to this question? So, the right answer to this is fourth, A and D statements. A and D statement will help you understand this concept. Let us read about it. the application of education beyond university. This statement suggests that the education should be broader and you should study it not only for the purpose of reading books, but it is way more, right? So it is broader application of education which can relate, and interdisciplinary approach is needed. In a number of fields you need to study the same things that you have been taught. Then combination of two or more topics, disciplines and subject matter. This topic directly aligns with the definition of interdisciplinary, which involves integrating knowledge from multiple disciplines. Then focusing on one domain for one lesson. This statement contradicts the concept of interdisciplinary. The idea of bringing together diverse disciplines. This statement is also directly supporting interdisciplinary, and education is for people and their development at large. While this statement reflects the broad educational philosophy, it does not specifically addresses interdisciplinarity. Okay, this is an easy question. Choose the correct sequence of writing a research paper. Gathering data, finding a topic, finding and reading the best sources, then organizing ideas and setting goals, as well as writing the paper. What should be the correct sequence in which a research paper is written? Let us discuss the answer. So the fourth part is correct. Let us read the order. सबसे पहले what do? You find a topic. किस topic पे हमें research करनी है. This was easy. This would be the first step. Then you will gather data around it. A. Then you will do what? Then you will be organizing ideas and setting goals around it. After that, you will read the best sources available. And last May, you will be writing the paper. Okay. So, you have fourth as the right answer. Which one of the following English novels received Sahitya Academy Award for the year 2023? 2023 में award किसको मिलता है? साहित्य अकेडमी अवार्ड. Requiem in Raga Janki by Neelam Saran Gaur. All the Lives We Never Lived by Anuradha Roy. The Blind Lady's Descendants by Anis Salim, and Chronicles of a Corpse Bearer by Cyrus Mistry. So in 2023, award was given to Neelam Saran Gaur. Neelam Saran Gaur received the prize. She has written works like Requiem in Raga Janki. This work is important. She has also written a work called as Grey Pigeon. Grey Pigeon. Rivers and a Tree. Rivers and a Tree. Okay. This is also a work written by her only. But if I ask you, किसको मिला है 2024 में साहित्य अकेडमी अवार्ड? Can you tell me that? Who received Sahitya Academy Award in 2024? So in 2024, this award is given to Esterine. It is given to Esterine. Okay. It is given to Esterine for the work Spirit Nights. For Spirit Nights. This can be asked in your exam. So she is a poet, important poet hai, Esterine Kayer, and she received 2024 ka Sahitya Academy Award. Okay. She has written a work called as A Naga Village Remembered. A Naga Village Remembered. Then Mari. These are the works. Don't Run My Love. Okay. She received the prize for Spirit Nights. This is the book. Esterine Kayer received Sahitya Academy Award in 2024. In 23, we have Requiem in Raga Janki by Neelam Saran Gaur. I hope you guys will study a little bit more about Neelam Saran. Anuradha Roy is important as well. Anuradha Roy. You have Anis Salim, who has written this work called as Vanity Bagh. Vanity Bagh, The Blind Lady's Descendants. And Cyrus Mistry, Chronicles of a Corpse Bearer is important and he is the brother of Rohinton Mistry. रोहिंटन मिस्ट्री की 3 नॉवेल्स हैं, तीनों की तीनों बुकर प्राइज के लिए नॉमिनेट भी हुई हैं. ओके, सच अ लॉन्ग जर्नी, फाइन बैलेंस, फैमिली मैटर्स, ये किनके वर्क्स हैं? दीज आर द वर्क्स ऑफ रोहिंटन मिस्ट्री. रोहिंटन मिस्ट्री. रोहिंटन मिस्ट्री कौन थे? साइरस मिस्ट्री के ब्रदर थे. ओके, दोनों ही ब्रदर्स आर बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट इन व्हेन इट कम्स टू इंडियन लिटरेचर. सो साइरस मिस्ट्री का वर्क है क्रॉनिकल्स ऑफ अ कॉर्प्स बियरर, इंपॉर्टेंट है. देन यू हैव रोहिंटन मिस्ट्री who has written 3 very important novels nominated for the Booker Prize. The first one is Such a Long Journey, 1991. Such a Long Journey. Then you have Fine Balance, A Fine Balance. दीना दलाल जिसके अंदर है हमारी एज अ करेक्टर, दीना दलाल, ईश्वर चंद, एंड दीना दलाल हेयर इज स्टिचिंग अ क्विल्ट, राइट. इमरजेंसी पीरियड के बारे में ये सेट है, नसबंदी, इमरजेंसी पीरियड, दीज आर द थिंग्स दैट इट टॉक्स अबाउट. देन यू हैव फैमिली मैटर्स. ओके, सो बोथ द ब्रदर्स आर इंपॉर्टेंट. लेट्स गो फॉरवर्ड. Arrange the following detective novels written by Agatha Christie in the chronological order of their publication. The novels, detective novels written by Agatha Christie, she is the one who came up with this character Hercule Poirot. Hercule Poirot and Mrs. Marple. So Mrs. Marple is basically a woman who keeps on gossiping. She is a gossip monger. And she gives, she is the one who gives bits of information to this very important detective who was basically a character written by Agatha Christie, Hercule Poirot. He is a man who is described as a person with mustache, small height, and he is only known to people because of his grey cells to think. Okay. So we have works like Death on the Nile, Murder in the Orient Express, Sparkling Sight, The Mysterious Affair at Styles, and The Murder at Roger Ackroyd. The right answer would be, fourth would be the right answer. Let us discuss the works. This was a difficult question that was asked. The Mysterious Affair at Styles work came out in 1920. This is where this work was her debut novel, and this is where she introduced Hercule Poirot as the character. This question has also been asked before, I think in 2021, where you had to match the detectives with the writers who firstly started with the character. Okay, so Sherlock Holmes किसने invent किया? Can you tell me that? Hercule Poirot was started by Agatha Christie. The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, 1926. It is a controversial novel with a twist ending at the end. Murder of the Orient Express, 1934. It is a classic featuring Poirot's luxurious train journey, and there he will, find out who the murder is. Death on the Nile, 1937. Another mysterious work. A glamorous vacation पे जाते हैं हमारे करेक्टर डिटेक्टिव और फिर एक डिस्कवरी करते हैं, फिर एक डिटेक्टिव नॉवल लिखी जाती है उसके बारे में. Then Sparkling Sight in 1945. This is a latter work. Okay, which of the following parameters are emphasized in MLA Handbook's 9th edition chapter titled Principles of Inclusive Language? Principles of Inclusive Language. Avoid negatively judging others' experiences. Use a dictionary to check for offensive terms. Then extensive use of pronouns. Any format for capitalization and styling. Make references to identify relevant sources. Which of the following parameters are emphasized in MLA Handbook's 9th edition chapter titled as Principles of Inclusive Language? So the right answer to this is 3. Let us study. So MLA Handbook's 9th edition chapter on Principles of Inclusive Language talks about the following parameters. Avoid negatively judging others' experiences and whatever they are talking. This means that using language that is respectful, then avoid making assumptions or generalization about individuals there or group of work that has been done. Make references to identity relevant to sources. When discussing a topic related to identity, it's important to cite the source that is written by the people. It makes your work more accurate. Use dictionary to check offensive terms. While dictionaries can be helpful, it's important to be aware that your language that is constantly evolving should not be considered offensive to anyone. Okay, so A, B and E are correct. Which of the following books are categorized under science fiction? इनमें से कौन सी साइंस फिक्शन के अंदर आपको इंक्लूड करने को आप इसको इंक्लूड करोगे? Then is it Murakami's work, The Wind Up Bird Chronicle? Wendy Mass's A Mango-Shaped Space? Umberto Eco's Travels in Hyper-Reality? Then Frank Shewiting's The Swan? And you have Kazuo Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go. Kazuo Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go. Which of the following work will you include in the genre of science fiction? You are using science and you are creating say fantastical features with it. Scientific fiction के साथ साथ उसे आप क्या बोल सकते हो? You are using sci-fi basically ये novels होती हैं. So which novel would be included in this category of science fiction? टेक्नोलॉजी के बारे में बात होती है यहाँ पे एंड यू यूज इन्वेंशंस जो लेटेस्ट हुए हैं उनके बारे में बात हो रही है. स्पेस ट्रैवल्स, दीज आर द थिंग्स दैट आर इंक्लूडेड हियर. द राइट आंसर कुड बी okay, so this question basically was dropped when it comes to the final answer key. इसको drop किया गया था, so we will discuss it here. So Murakami has written this work, The Wind Up Bird Chronicle. This is a surreal work that was written, magical realistic novel hai, but it is not a science fiction. So this work written by Murakami is not a science fiction. Then Wendy Mass's A Mango-Shaped Space. This is a contemporary novel and it is not a science fiction. It is not related to your genre of science fiction. Umberto Eco's Travels in Hyper-Reality. This is a collection of essays on semiotics and culture. Again, not associated with science fiction. Then Frank Shewitt's The Swan is a science fiction as well as an eco-thriller work that is written. And Kazuo Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go. It is a dystopian science fiction novel exploring cloning as a technique. Cloning technique को और bioethics को use किया इन्होंने इस work के अंदर. Kazuo Ishiguro again is a very very important writer. He received Nobel Prize in 2017. पेपर में already आ चुका है ये. He also received Booker Prize for his work An Artist of the Floating World. An Artist of the Floating World. Okay, इसके लिए इनको क्या मिला था? Booker Prize मिला है. So both the questions have been asked. You should add this in your notes. Then you have list 1 with the authors and list 2 are the works they have written. Sally Morgan, Monica Claire, Nyungi Garimara, who is also called as Doris Pingleton, and Alice Wright. These are the works: Carubran, Caprice, the Stockman's Daughter, My Place, Plains of Promise. You need to match list 1 with list 2. Let us discuss the answer. Okay, so second would be the right answer. Let us see who has written which work. So Sally Morgan is known for her work My Place. वो किस वर्क के लिए फेमस है? My Place. This she has been repetitively asked in your exam. So write this as an important, it's a very potential question to be asked again. Then Monica Claire wrote Karubar, and this work is talking about the Aboriginal livers that were there, the living population of Australia. So they are called as Aboriginals. ये उनके बारे में है. First novel written by an Australian Aboriginal author भी इसको कह सकते हो आप, Monica Claire के work को. Then you have Doris Pingleton, who is associated with the work Caprice, a Stockman's Daughter, and Alice Wright's work is Plains of Promise. Next work. Which of the following are not, नहीं है जो वो पूछा है, are not the genius sources of sublime as cited by Longinus? So Longinus talked about sublime. What is sublime? Sublime is a force. It's like, say, serendipity होता है ना, when you अचानक से get to know something. So it is sublime only. One moment you understand everything. That moment that shook you, that is sublime. So इनमें से कौन सी चीजें they are not associated with creating sublime in your mind? इनमें से कैसे आपको, इनमें से कौन सी चीजें जो sublime create, sublimity create नहीं करती हैं? The power you, when you feel that you understood something, that feeling, that exact feeling is sublimity. So A point है आपका creation of imaginative feelings. B, the command of full-blooded or robust ideas. The inspiration of vehement emotion, nobility of spontaneity. Then you have a generative effect of dignity and elevation. Which of the following is not creating sublime? So the right answer here is A and D. Longinus gives you 5 genuine sources of sublimity. 5 sources हैं sublimity के. 5 वजह से आपको sublimation feel हो सकता है. In his work called as On the Sublime. उनका work क्या है? On the Sublime. Which is grandeur of thought, strong emotion, and uses the figures, when you use the figures of noble diction as well as dignified composition. Okay? Right? Creation of imaginative feelings. This is not explicitly listed as a source of sublime. Then command of full-blooded or robust ideas. This aligned with grandeur of thought as well as inspiration of vehement emotions. This is also corresponding to strong emotions. Nobility of spontaneity. This is nowhere mentioned in the source of sublime. So your A and D. A part और D part यहाँ पे added नहीं है. Arrange the following works of B.R. Ambedkar. Chronologically set करने हैं आपको B.R. Ambedkar के works. You have Mr. Gandhi and Emancipation of Untouchables, The Alienation of Caste, The Problem of the Rupee, Its Origin and Its Solution, Federation versus Freedom, and Buddha and his, this is the E point, Buddha and his Dhamma. Buddha and his Dhamma. These are the works written by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. These are the prose works written by him. Mr. Gandhi and Emancipation of Untouchables, The Alienation of Caste, The Problems of the Rupee, The Federation versus Freedom, and Buddha and his Dhamma. The right answer would be 3. You have, सबसे पहला work कौन सा था उनका? The Problem of the Rupee. This work was written in 1923. Directly works पूछा गया है. In previous questions, they have asked in detail about alienation of caste, but this time they asked only related to the dates. So you need to know the dates of the works also. The Problem of the Rupee, 1923. The Alienation of Caste, 1936. Then Federation versus Freedom, 1936. But in some sources, you will find it as 1939 also. Then Mr. Gandhi and Emancipation of Untouchables, 1945, and posthumously this work was published, Buddha and his Dhamma, 1950. Published posthumously means उनकी death के बाद ये publish हुआ था. Okay, arrange the following Indian writers in the right chronological order of their birth. उनके chronology set करनी है आपको birth के according. You have R.K. Narayan, Raja Rao, then Sri Aurobindo, then K.S. Venkataramani, as well as Sarojini Naidu. These are Indian writers, poets. They are R.K. Narayan, Raja Rao, then Sri Aurobindo, K.S. Venkataramani and Sarojini Naidu. So इनको आपको कैसे सेट करना है? बर्थ डेट्स के अकॉर्डिंग सेट करना है. नारायण के वर्क, द वेंडर ऑफ स्वीट्स, ये सारे वर्क जो हैं आपको क्रोनोलॉजी में सेट करने आते हैं. द गाइड, you need to know the you need to know the dates and you need to know the characters that are there in the work. Kanthapura by Raja Rao, you need to know that as well. Okay, so we have Shri Aurobindo. सबसे पहले कौन पोएट आ रहे हैं हमारे पास? श्री औरबिंदो. In 1872 he is a poet. After that we have Sarojini Naidu, the Nightingale, right? 1879. Then you have Raja Rao, 1908. Then you have Narayan, 1906. Then you have Venkataraman, 1991. So the answer would be, your answer would be D, C, E, D, A, B. Okay? Chalo. Let us see the next question. ठीक है, so यहाँ पे you need to tell me the graphic novels. Which of the following works are the works that are associated with graphic novels? अब graphic novels कौन सी होती हैं? Graphic novels are the novels that are associated with say pictures, comic strips के तरीके से आपको वो क्या करते हैं, आपको कोई स्टोरी सुनाई जाती है. So इनमें से कौन से वर्क्स हैं जो कि एक ग्राफिक नरेटिव के साथ एसोसिएटेड हैं? You have the Feast of Roses by Indu Sundaresan. Then you have Bhimanya. Bhimanya is the work by S. Anand as well as Shri Vidya. Munnu, a boy from Kashmir by Malik Sad. A Fine Balance by Rohinton Mistry. This Side, That Side, Restoring Partition by Vishwajyoti Ghosh. Graphic narratives, इनमें से कौन से हैं? So let us discuss सबसे पहले graphic narratives क्या होता है, उसके बाद बात करेंगे कौन सी novels associated हैं. So we have graphic narratives that are the stories going to be primarily told to you using pictures, using images, often combined with texts in the form of comics as well as graphic novels. The Feast of Roses by Indu, this is a novel that is not a graphic narrative. ये graphic narrative नहीं है. Then you have Bhimanya. This is a work also included in a university syllabuses. This is a graphic novel. एक blue color की book है जिसमें जो B.R. अम्बेडकर के बारे में बात करती है, उनकी life struggles depicting his conversion and being a Dalit, what atrocities he faced, उन सब के बारे में बात करेगी. So this is a graphic narrative. Munnu, a boy from Kashmir. This is a graphic novel that tells the story of a young boy's experience during the Kashmiri conflict. A Fine Balance is not a novel related to graphic narrative because this work, as I told you, Rohinton Mistry का work है and this work is dealing with the emergency period. So ये associated नहीं है graphic novel के साथ. This Side, That Side. This is a novel exploring the impact of human. So basically, it is talking about partition of India. Okay, it is talking about partition of India, and this is a graphic novel जो humans के ऊपर क्या impact हुआ है partition का, उसके बारे में बात करती है. Okay, so B, C and E आपके सही answers हैं. Then who is the author of Mano Majra? Is it S. Memon? Is it Manohar Malgonkar, Bal Chandra Rajan or Khushwant Singh? Who has written this work, Mano Majra? So, Khushwant Singh ने ये work लिखा है. This is written by Khushwant Singh. S. Menon. S. Menon is not the author of this work. There is no notable work by S. Menon that is associated with Indian literature called as Mano Majra. Then you have Manohar Malgonkar. Manohar Malgonkar was an Indian author who is known for his works. He is very, he's a profound writer who is known for his works. the men who killed Gandhi. So Gandhian era use करके this whirlwind of Gandhi, जब Gandhian era and his movements were becoming famous, उस time के characters ये use करते हैं and allegorically उनको explain करते हैं. So Manohar Malgonkar, the men who killed Gandhi, as well as a bend in the Ganges. However, this is not a work written by him. Then Balchandra Rajan, he is again an Indian writer scholar, but he did not write this work. He is very notable for his scholarly contributions done to Indian English literature, as well as you can say contributions to literature and translation as well. Translation studies के साथ भी. Khushwant Singh is the correct answer. Khushwant Singh has written this work. He was a prominent partition writer, Indian author, journalist, editor, known for his works like The Train to Pakistan. उनका एक और work है Train to Pakistan, that is related to partition. It's an important work. Delhi, a novel. Then The Company of Women. And Mano Maja is one of his prominent work that is set in the backdrop of partition, dealing with the themes of communal violence, humanism and complexities जो people face करते हैं when they are living in a rural life. Right? Rural life में वो लोग रह रहे हैं. Right. Next question. Which of the following is considered as the first published composition in English by an Indian? Mackenzie's manuscripts, Newcomb's, the accounts of the Jains, and the Brahmanical magazine. Which is the first publication or the first published composition in English by an Indian? So the right answer is what? The first published composition in English by an Indian is considered to be as the accounts of the Jain. That means option number 3 would be correct. This work was written by an Indian scholar and a social reformer, and you will be amazed to see that it is Rajaram Mohan Roy who wrote this work, and it is a significant movement. It talks about a significant, it will mark a significant movement. अब तक ऐसा किसी ने भी लिटरेचर में नहीं किया था जो इंडियन राइटर कर दे वहां पे in the history of Indian literature in English. Okay, so the right answer would be 3, the accounts of the Jains. This is the work by Rajaram Mohan Roy. He is known for his social reform. He's a known renowned social reformist and has written works around these things only. Okay, which of the following combinations correctly defines the phonological system of Indian English in relation to standard English? So what is phonology? Phonology means sound. Phonology is related to your sound. So you have sentences. Sentences का syntax होता है, उसे semantic level पे देखते हो. आपके words जो होते हैं वो बिल्कुल correctly कहाँ पे लिखे जा रहे हैं ये आपका syntax दिखाता है. पर आपके words की sounds भी होती हैं, उनकी sounds की study को आप phonology कहते हो. Okay? So which of the following combinations correctly defines the phonological system of Indian English in relation to standard English? Absence of aspirated consonants, then simplified vowel system, similar international pattern, presence of voiced aspirated consonants. Which is the correct option? So let us see, the option number B and D correctly defines the phonological system of Indian English in relation to standard English. Simplified vowel systems and the presence of voiced aspirated consonants are there. Okay, so option B becomes the right answer. This was a direct question that was asked. Okay, what terms used by Fernand de Saussure corresponds to the term given by Noam Chomsky, that is performance? Performance. This question gets repeated. So Fernand de Saussure, he is a semiotician related to semiotics, जिन्होंने वो linguist हैं जो कि English literature में भी बहुत ज़्यादा contribute करते हैं. He is a Swiss linguist who has written in length and he is associated with the theory of structuralism. What is structuralism? So we tend to use language, and language, as we all know, is arbitrary. Language is arbitrary because it keeps on changing with the changing scenario. Fernando de Saussure said that language is made up of multiple signs and signs can be divided as a signifier and signified. तो जो हमारी लैंग्वेज है वो सिग्निफायर और सिग्निफाइड में डिफाइन हो सकती है. He also talked about the studying of language in a syntagmatic manner, and he said that diachronic study और synchronic study दोनों कर सकते हैं. At the present moment language क्या है या इतने टाइम से क्या चली आ रही है. These are few terms. He also talked about terms like lang and parole. Lang and parole. Lang क्या होता है? So when you use a language, आप क्लास में सीखते हो ना कि आपको subject, verb, आपको पास subject होता है, फिर verb होता है, फिर आपके पास क्या होता है? predicate या आप object कह लो, है ना. ये rules होते हैं जो हम सीखते हैं, rules of grammar. Without learning आपके parts of speech, you cannot utter a single word. You need to be grammatically correct. So these rules that you follow, these broad rules that you follow are lang, and how a person use these things according to themselves, how they modify it and how they use things, that is called as parole. So performance क्या हो गया? Performance के साथ क्या associate हुआ? That is parole. So Noam Chomsky talked about two things, that is performance and competence and performance, and you have lang and parole जिसके बारे में बात की है Fernando de Saussure ने. So here you have what is the correct answer. So Fernando de Saussure used the term parole in correspondence to Noam Chomsky's terms performance. Okay, performance के साथ. So let us understand एक और बार अगर नहीं समझ आए किसी को, because this question is repeated again and again. Lang क्या हुआ? We all play chess, है ना? And we have, this is how chess looks like, the chess board. So these are black pawns that we have and we have white pawns. We all know that ये जो भी हमारे pawns हैं, they are going to move in a particular prescribed manner. Okay, for example अगर आपके पास elephant है तो वो बिल्कुल straight चलेगा. This is one rule. Okay, अगर आपके पास horse है तो वो इससे ऐसे कदम चलेगा, हम करते हैं ना. तो ये सारे हमारे rules हैं. These are like rules of grammar. You cannot change them. हर गेम का अपना रूल है. ऊनो खेलते हैं सब. ऊनो में रिवर्स कार्ड का अपना वैल्यू है, स्किप की अपनी वैल्यू है. These are fixed rules. These rules that you have, they are called as lang. They are given to you. But it is up to me which pawn I will pick. राइट मुझे सोल्जर को चलना है या मुझे हॉर्स को चलना है, कैमल को चलना है, अपने किंग को चलना है, क्या करना है मुझे, दैट इज अप टू मी. ओके, दैट थिंग इज कॉल्ड एज पैरोल. ओके, सिमिलरली नॉम चॉम्स्की टॉक्ड अबाउट competence and performance. Competence is the rules given to you. That is your competence. तुम्हें ये करना है. Performance, मैंने कैसा perform किया. So competence is related to lang and performance is related to parole. Okay, so यहाँ B would be the right answer and someone gave me the answer as C. So code CUET यहाँ पे आपने गलत दिया है answer. Okay, ठीक है. Which of the following sociologists' ideas on the practice of receiving and giving gifts are used by J. Hills Miller to reinforce her arguments in the essay Critic as Host? Emile Durkheim, Max Weber, Marcel Mauss और Daniel Bell. इनमें से कौन से ऐसे राइटर है, उनकी प्रैक्टिस, उनके आइडियाज, किस सोशियोलॉजिस्ट के आइडियाज को यूज किया है उनका रिसीविंग एंड गिविंग गिफ्ट्स? Okay, so we have C as the right answer. Joseph Hills Miller is an important humanities and literary scholar. He was among the pioneers to introduce phenomenology as well as deconstruction to Anglo-American audience. Sociologist Marcel Mauss' ideas of the practice of receiving and giving gift is used in his work that is called as the essay Critic as Host. So in the essay critic as host, वो किसके ideas use करते हैं? J.H. Miller use करते हैं idea given by Marcel Mauss. So C becomes the right answer here. C is the right answer. And again you gave me the answer as A. It is not Durkheim. Durkheim is the important sociologist. Okay, but he is not the one who is giving this concept. Okay, what does Harlem Renaissance refer to? So Harlem Renaissance क्या है? Is it a scientific or rational ethos including freedom from superstition in the 18th century Europe? The flourishing of African American literature in the 1920s and 1930s? The church system overseen by the governing hierarchy of 4 courts championed by the English Puritans? The revelation of the Christ to the Gentiles of the person of the Magi. So Harlem Renaissance क्या था? We discussed this in the previous class as well. Harlem Renaissance was associated with African American writers. So I hope you guys are clear. Suppose ये हमारा ऑस्ट्रेलिया, ये हमारा अमेरिका है. So this is America, and यहाँ पे you can divide America into 3 parts. This is north, this is middle, this is southern part. So when in England James the One was ruling, he became a arch ruler. He wanted to take everything in his own power. He, as I told you in the previous class, he was an absolutist also. तो उनके ही रूल के अंदर the Puritans became so happy, so sad that they left the place. The Puritan forefathers, the Pilgrim Fathers, they are also called as. From England, they traveled to the north. They started living in the northern part of America, Jamestown के अंदर. Right? They thought that God now finally has given them a beautiful land and a piece of land that is a gift by God. They will rule there. This place, because they were broad-minded and they were Puritans, though they were Puritans, but still they wanted to earn more money. They started with industries. But southern part में there was slavery that was prevalent. यहाँ पे क्या था? स्लेवरी बहुत ज्यादा प्रेवलेंट थी. कॉटन एंड मिल्स में बहुत अलग अलग जगह पे, प्लांटेशंस पे बेसिकली स्लेव्स को रखा जा रहा था, जो इंडिया से, अलग अलग जगह से, अफ्रीका से उनको लेके आए थे. सो व्हाट हैपेंड? ऑफ कोर्स द सिविल वॉर हैपेंड. अब्राहम लिंकन वॉन एंड अब्राहम लिंकन अबॉलिश्ड स्लेवरी. बट आफ्टर द अबॉलिशन ऑफ स्लेवरी एज वेल, दो द नॉर्दर्न स्टेट्स वॉन, abolition of slavery happened. Emancipation of slavery was a movement that started, but this emancipation never happened. है ना, ये emancipation कभी होती ही नहीं है. So what happened here? Ku Klux Klan as well as Jim Crow laws. Jim Crow laws, ये दो चीजें अभी भी वहां पे prevalent थी. Lynching of the African Americans were happening. African Americans were not given any piece of land. This was under the Jim Crow laws, and any African American that was seen, any black that was seen, they were lynched. They were killed brutally, and no one even raised a voice. So these African Americans were frustrated. They thought that they will reclaim their own identity. They started the Great Migration. They started the Great Migration from south. They wanted to move towards north in New York, in the place called as Harlem. Okay, and jazz, music, blues and artistic work, ये सब कर रहे थे, लिख रहे थे ताकि ये अपनी identity reclaim कर सके. So B becomes the right answer. It is a period remarkable in creativity as well as in literature, music, dance, painting and sculpture by African Americans from the end of the First World War 1917 to the early 1930s. So Harlem Renaissance is the flourishing of the African American literature that happened in 1920s and 1930s. Next question. Given below are two statements. One is an assertion, the other is labeled as a reason. Language constructs meaning. Language structures meanings depending on the speaking subject's perceptions, context and auditors. In the light of the statement, tell me, are both A and R true and R is the correct explanation? Both A and R are true and R is not the correct explanation. A is true and R is not true. It is false. A is false but R is true. Language constructs meaning. Language arbitrary है, लेकिन language के बिना meaning नहीं आ सकता. Okay? Language structures meaning depending on speaker's subject, उसका perception क्या है, context क्या बात हो रही है, and क्या audit हो रहा है, क्या auditor की बात है. So both the statements are correct and it is correctly been explained as well. Language structures meaning. It is the language which gives meaning. Okay? Language is arbitrary. Again and again I'm telling you, है ना? Language को जहां पे use करोगे, आप उसे जैसे यूज करोगे वो वैसा शेप ले लेगी. लैंग्वेज टोन आपके टाइम, कॉन्टेक्स्ट, टेम्पोरल इफेक्ट सब चीजों से इफेक्ट हो जाती है. लैंग्वेज स्ट्रक्चर्स मीनिंग बिकॉज ऑफ द राइटर्स और द रीडर्स और द सब्जेक्ट्स परसेप्शन, कॉन्टेक्स्ट और द ऑडिटर्स दैट आर देयर. तो लैंग्वेज बदल जाती है. देन यू हैव दिस क्वेश्चन. ठीक है. Which two concepts developed by French sociologist Pierre Bourdieu have become increasingly influential in cultural studies? So, जो हमारे फ्रेंच सोशियोलॉजिस्ट हैं पियर बोर्डियू, उनके कौन से दो टर्म्स हैं जो कि बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हैं? डिसेमिनेशन, जेनेसिस, कल्चरल कैपिटल एंड हैबिटास. The French sociologist Pierre Bourdieu gave these two terms. So, Pierre Bourdieu, who is a French sociologist, who was a public intellectual in the tradition of Émile, so he is very same as Émile Zola as well as Jean-Paul Sartre. His concepts of habitus as well as cultural capital are important when it comes to humanities and social sciences. What is cultural capital? Cultural capital क्या होता है? So in the field of sociology, cultural capital comprises of the capital that form the foundation of the social life, dictated one's position within the social order. And what is habitus? Habitus is a very important term. Habitus is one of Bourdieu's most influential yet an ambiguous concept given by him. It refers to the physical embodiment of cultural capital. Cultural capital को अगर physically कभी देखना चाहो तो उसे आप habitus कहते हो. That will influence everything that is there. To deeply ingrained habits, skills, as well as dispositions that we possess due to our life experiences. तो for example हम लोग को आजकल क्या है, अगर हम लोग को बाहर कैफेज जाने का मन कर रहा है तो कैफे एक तरीके का क्या हो जाएगा, हमारी हैबिट्स में इंग्रेन हो रहा है, वो एक तरीके का कैपिटल बनते लगता है. ओके, एंड यू गेव मी डी एज एन आंसर बट इट इज सी. ओके, 3 and 4 cultural capital and habitus. Cultural capital and habitus. These are the two terms given by him. Okay, now you need to tell me the fictional characters. कौन सी बुक्स से हैं and उनको chronological order में set करना है. Which of the following fictional characters is in the right chronological order? Uncle Toby, Man Friday. Then you have Stephen Dedalus and Miss Havisham. ये कौन से बुक्स के साथ एसोसिएटेड है ये भी पता होना चाहिए. ओके, अंकल टोबी, मैन फ्राइडे, स्टीफन डेगलस एज वेल एज मिस हैविशैम. सो द राइट chronological order would be C. Man Friday. Man Friday is a character that will appear in Daniel Defoe's novel Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe is written in which year? 1719. 1719. Uncle Toby, a very interesting character. He is the one who appears in the novel written by Lawrence Stern. Lawrence Stern की sentimental novel है that is known for its digressions. You must have read it. Nose as a motif उन्होंने उसमें use किया है. Digressions use करे हैं, blank pages use किए हैं. It's one of a kind. It's a huge book. बहुत ज़्यादा thick है, but a wonderful read. So this is a character that appears in Lawrence Stern's The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy. It talks about Tristram Shandy, his birth, his problems with circumcision, the wife maid that is there. He was born and the clock was, clock stopped moving. It means that उनके birth से ही problem start हो जाएंगी. ठीक है? So this is a work that was published in 1757. Mrs. Havisham is an important character that you will find in Dickens, Charles Dickens' work, The Great Expectation. Charles Dickens and his works come in chronological order, and they can also ask you about the characters that are there. So Mrs. Havisham is an important character in the work The Great Expectation, written in 1861. Charles Dickens is a Victorian novelist. He is known for his social novels, Hard Times जैसे उनकी novels हैं. ठीक है, Hard Time is an important work. Most of your answers are going wrong. What should I do? Firstly, you have to definitely revise your syllabus again and try to focus on the topics that we are discussing, and then go back, read about it a little more. Okay, and you can make your notes from here as well. Abhi still you have time. Paper mein you have time abhi. So we are going to be conducting classes here on daily basis. You can just come here and पढ़ो इसको. इन classes से आपको जितनी guidance मिल रही है, you can make your own notes. And अब जो भी हम topic discuss करते हैं, if there is another writer that if there is a writer that you do not know, just write the name of the writer and write the works and the dates associated with him or her. This will make a very a comprehensive note prepare हो जाएंगे आपके, जिसके अंदर आपके सारे works होंगे, dates होंगे. Nowadays they do not ask very detailed question. बहुत in depth novels के अंदर से नहीं आ रहा है. It is mostly factual. So try to study whatever we are doing here. Go back, do your homework, try to research it a little more, and then you will definitely score well. Okay, then you have Stephen Dedalus. Stephen Dedalus is a character in the novel James Joyce की novel है A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, published in 1916. Okay, I hope you understood this. Man Friday character है Daniel Defoe के novel के. You have Uncle Toby, who is a character in Tristram Shandy, The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy. Mrs. Havisham Charles Dickens की novel में है. और Dedalus किसके character है? The Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. Okay. ठीक है, this question. Which of the following stylistic features characterize spoken discourse? Spoken discourse कौन से इसके features हैं यहाँ पे? Stylistic features हैं जो कि spoken discourse को दिखाते हैं. Greater use of explicit convectives, greater dependence on non-verbal connectives, great syntactic imbibing, great use of fillers and repetitions. Which of the following stylistic features characterize spoken discourse? So spoken discourse क्या होता है? What is spoken discourse? Spoken discourse is the ongoing situated interpretation of the speaker's communicative intentions, of which the addressee's expected and actual reactions are integral part. They become a discourse, they become a trend, right? The context of spoken discourse as well as the distinction between text and discourse क्या होता है? What is a text? The connected sequence of verbal signs and non-verbal signals in the terms of which discourse is co-constructed by the participants of the act of communication. जब वो बात करते हैं तो discourse set हो जाता है. And discourse क्या होता है? Discourse basically is hierarchically structured situated sequence of identical, or you can say incidental prepositions, utterances and elocutionary acts that are conducted. Okay, so the right answer would be the following stylistic features are used. Greater dependence on non-verbal connectives are there. अगर आप कुछ नहीं भी बोल रहे हो तो non-verbal cues will always be there, जिससे discourse set हो जाएगा. and the greater use of fillers and repetition. This is also a non-verbal way. How many times you are repeating a single thing? What are the fillers that you are using? Okay, they are also non-verbal cues of language. I'll leave you with this question. This is going to be your homework. Which of the following is the proper explanation of the concept of Freytag's pyramid? This is your homework question. We'll discuss this in the next class. With this, I'll wind up. Thank you and have a wonderful day. And I'll see you in the next class. Bye-bye.